The billionaire's car came to a halt beside the dusty road. He stared at the construction site, his eyes locked on a man hauling bricks. His heart dropped. That wasn't just a worker. It was the boy who once swore they'd conquer the world together. The afternoon sun beat down on the bustling construction site. Sweat poured from the workers' brows as they lifted, drilled, and shouted over roaring machinery. Among them was Ravi, tanned from years of labor, his shirt clinging to his back, his hands rough with calluses that told stories no one cared to hear. He never complained. He just worked. Every day, without fail. On the other side of town, a black Mercedes rolled slowly past the site. Inside sat Arav Mehra, India's youngest self-made billionaire. He had just closed a $100 million deal and was on his way to cut the ribbon at his newest real estate project. But then, out of nowhere, someone, caught his eye. He told the driver to stop. Arav stepped out, ignoring the questions from his assistant. He squinted through the dust. His heart started racing. There, under a fraying cap and layers of dirt, stood the man who once shared his bench in school, fought bullies with him, and dreamed of owning a tech company by age 25. Ravi Saxena. Arav walked slowly toward the site. The noise faded in his ears. Memories of childhood flashed. Midnight study sessions, skipping meals to save for computer classes, swearing they'd never let life separate them. But life had. Ravi turned, sensing someone behind him. He froze, brick in hand. His eyes widened in disbelief. "Arav?" he said, voice hoarse, unsure if it was real. Arav couldn't speak. He just stepped forward and hugged him, right there, in front of everyone. Dust, sweat, and all. The workers around them stared. A billionaire in a suit, hugging a laborer? Ravi pulled back, suddenly self-conscious. "Look at me. I'm a mess." "You're my brother," Arav interrupted, his voice shaking. "And I've spent years wondering where you went." Ravi looked down. Life happened. My father died. I dropped out, worked odd jobs, and this is where I landed. Arav's fists clenched. "And I had no idea. I was too busy climbing ladders, I didn't even check who I left behind." The two men stood silent for a moment. Then Arav said, "Come with me." "Not out of pity. I need someone I can trust, someone who knows me. I'm opening a new division, and I want you to help lead it." Ravi stared, stunned. "I don't even know where to start anymore." "We start where we left off," Arav smiled. Together, the two men stood locked in a silent stare as the sound of hammers and drills filled the air around them. For a moment, time seemed to pause. Dust floated in the sunbeams that pierced through the half-finished windows, and the billionaire, Rohan Malhotra, didn't move a muscle. The construction worker finally broke the silence. "You all right, sir?" Rohan blinked, snapped out of the trance. Yeah, sorry, just, you reminded me of someone." The man gave a polite nod and bent back to his task, shoulders strong and worn from years of labor. But Rohan didn't move. He took a hesitant step forward. "Your name, is it Arjun?" The man paused again. This time he turned fully, eyes narrowing in confusion. "Yes, how do you—" "It's me, Rohan." Arjun dropped the metal rod in his hand. It clattered loudly against the floor. He stared, mouth slightly open, before letting out a stunned, breathy laugh. "Rohan? Rohan Malhotra? From Kalpataru School?" Rohan nodded, unable to stop the smile spreading across his face. "I thought I'd never see you again." Arjun stepped closer, wiping his hands on his dusty shirt before gripping Rohan in a tight, stunned hug. The embrace was brief, but it held decades of distance and 1,000 unspoken words. They stepped aside, away from the noisy work zone, and settled onto an unused beam. Arjun looked at him with disbelief. I saw your face in the papers so many times. You're a tycoon now. I never imagined you'd come to a site like this. I usually don't, Rohan admitted, but something told me to visit this one myself. Arjun chuckled. So fate's still got a sense of humor. They talked about school, about shared meals under banyan trees, about how they'd made promises to stick together, but life had pulled them apart. Rohan's family moved away. Arjun's father passed. Time and hardship shaped Arjun into a man who built things with his hands, while Rohan climbed towers built by others. Why didn't you ever try to reach out? Rohan asked. Arjun gave a small shrug. What would I say? Hi, I mix cement now. How's the jet? He smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. We lived in two different worlds, brother. Rohan looked down, jaw clenched. Maybe. But that doesn't mean I forgot. Arjun said nothing, but his silence held more emotion than words could. Just when the past seemed healed by reunion, one painful truth threatened to tear it all apart again. They sat together on the wooden beam, silent now, letting the hum of machines and hammering fill the space between them. Rohan kept glancing sideways at Arjun, as if afraid he might disappear again. But it was Arjun who finally broke the quiet, his voice lower this time, laced with something heavier. Do you remember why we stopped writing letters? Rohan nodded slowly. My dad. He didn't want me distracted. He said I needed to focus on the future. Arjun turned his head, his eyes locking with Rohan's. Your father came to our home once. Rohan's eyebrows lifted. He did. Arjun nodded. He told my mother I was a bad influence, that your future couldn't include people like us. Rohan's stomach tightened. I never knew that. He told her I'd hold you back, that it was better for everyone if we stopped being friends. Rohan looked down, ashamed. He was wrong, and I wish I had known. I would have fought him. Arjun offered a half smile. You were a kid, Rohan. We both were. What could you do? There was a long pause. Rohan's eyes turned glassy, the weight of guilt sinking deeper into his chest. That wasn't fair to you, Rohan said, his voice trembling. You were the only real friend I had back then. You stood up for me when I got bullied. You shared your lunch when I forgot mine, and I disappeared. Arjun waved a dismissive hand, but his throat betrayed him with a twitch. It's over now. You're here. But Rohan wasn't done. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small leather envelope. This project, this hospital, I was going to name it after my grandfather, but now I know who it really belongs to. He handed the envelope to Arjun. Arjun opened it slowly, his fingers trembling. Inside was a legal document, naming him as co-founder of the medical wing and partner in the construction firm overseeing the project. What is this? Arjun whispered. It's my way of saying thank you. For everything. For being my brother when I had no one. You helped shape who I became. You just didn't know it. Tears welled in Arjun's eyes. His rough hands gripped the paper like it was made of glass. Rohan, I'm just a worker. You're more than that, Rohan interrupted gently. You're the foundation, like everything you build. The two men stood, and for a second time, embraced. But this time it wasn't the reunion of two strangers. It was the reunion of family. When one man honors the roots of his success, the world witnesses a moment that restores faith in true friendship. The weeks that followed were unlike anything Arjun could have imagined. Every morning he arrived at the site, but now he wore a badge that read, Partner, beside his name. The same workers who had once joked with him over tea now looked at him with pride and a bit of awe. He was still the same Arjun, but the world around him had changed, because someone had finally seen his worth and told the world about it. One sunny afternoon, a crowd gathered at the site. Cameras clicked, officials in suits lined the edges, and a large white cloth covered a gleaming plaque bolted to the hospital's foundation. Rohan stepped up to the microphone. He smiled, but emotion trembled behind his confident voice. "Today we break ground not just for a building," he began, "but for a dream I shared with someone very special many years ago." He turned toward Arjun and nodded. "Someone who taught me how to dream, how to be kind, how to never forget where I come from." With a simple tug, Rohan pulled the cloth down, and the plaque was revealed. The Arjun Rohan Healing Center built on friendship, rooted in loyalty, dedicated to dignity for all. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Arjun stood still, his hand over his mouth. He'd known about the document, but not this. Rohan walked over and placed a hand on Arjun's shoulder. "For every time you shared your meal with me, for every moment you stood up for me, for every letter I never replied to, this is my way of finally saying thank you." Tears rolled down Arjun's face freely now, no longer hidden by work or sweat or pride. Later that evening, they sat together on the hospital steps, just like they had sat as boys under the banyan tree outside their school. Arjun chuckled, nudging Rohan. "Still think I build better than I talk?" Rohan laughed. "You do, but today, you left me speechless." And under the golden rays of the setting sun, two friends, once separated by class and time, sat together again. Not as a CEO and a worker, not as a millionaire and a builder, but as brothers, finally reunited, and now building something greater than a hospital. They were building legacy,